format that's been around for well over 100 years, and it's still alive, it has a life, and it needs to have a future. And without an infrastructure, there can't be a future for film. So the fact that you're here and have interest in continuing to learn about the projection of film, it's just a really important thing. And so this is the first workshop that AMIA and Kodak has sponsored together. We're hoping it's going to be the start of more to come. So first and foremost, I want to thank you for coming and actually wanting to learn about film, because we're all in this together. If we're going to keep film alive, we need a club of people, a fraternity of people who want to keep film alive. So let's talk about film and where it's been and where hopefully it can continue to go into the future. So I didn't introduce myself yet, but my name is right up there. I've got one of these hyphenated names, Diane Carroll-Yacoby. I've been with Kodak over 20 years. I started pretty young, but I had some experience when I came to Kodak before Kodak, and I've had a really great career there. And I've seen, you know, the decades of when we used to make over 10,000 print copies of the big blockbuster features, and nowadays it's much less than 100. So we had our factory geared up to make billions of feet of color print film just for movieplexes. I was there during the time when theaters went from 1 and 2 screens to 20 screens, and every one of them needed a print. So the business changed very rapidly, and we adjusted to it. Recently, the business changed the other way. It went back and it went digital, and we adjusted to it. We're still here. We still make print film. We made a coating last week, and we do have customers who want print film, color print film, black and white print film. We sell that too. But anyway, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the importance of film. We still have film. It's a digital world, but we still have film, and film is still very important. So today, I'm going to talk about what's going on at Kodak, motion picture news, why we shoot on film, why project on film, why preserve on film. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about our film manufacturing at Kodak in Rochester, New York, which is where I'm from, if you haven't guessed already from my accent. People tell me I have a Rochester accent, whatever that is. So first, let's start with our founder, George Eastman. He was a unique guy. He actually left high school and didn't go to college or even finish high school because his father passed away at a young age, and he had to go to work to support his family. Now later he did go back to school for accounting, and he became a genius entrepreneur and inventor and was the founder of Eastman Kodak Company. One of the things he did was he invented the word Kodak. It's kind of a bit of trivia that people don't know about, but you know, he was trying to figure out the name of a company, and this was before marketing even was a thought by anybody, because this was back in the late 1800s, and he liked the letter K. He said it was a favorite of his, and it was a strong, incisive sort of letter. And him and his mother devised the name Kodak with an anagram set. So his 3 principal concepts were it had to be short, it couldn't be confused with anything else, and it had to mean nothing except his company, Kodak. And that's why he chose it. And today it's one of the biggest brands in the world. So I thought I'd start with that because it's kind of interesting bit of trivia about our founder. Today Kodak has 7 business divisions. It's a technology company. It has an annual revenue of over $1.8 billion. And we provide hardware, software, consumables, services to customers in the graphic arts, commercial print, publishing, packaging, electronic displays, and of course entertainment imaging, commercial films, which we sell through Kodak Alaris, and those are pretty much our main markets. We also have a division that is our facility in Rochester called Eastman Business Park, formerly known as Kodak Park. The good news is that Kodak is again fully committed to film. And in fact, our CEO, who is Jeff Clark, made a recent quote that hit the mark. He said, "We're all in on film," and we are. So that's the good news. Well, in case you didn't know it, Kodak still offers a full line of motion picture films and products, plus chemistry and accessories. So we are the only company left that makes a full line of color camera films. We also make black and white camera films. We make color and black and white intermediate films. We make color internegative films, sometimes used in restoration. Some of you might be familiar with that. We offer our films in a variety of formats, from Super 8, 16 millimeter, 35 millimeter, 65 millimeter for camera films, and 70 millimeter for projection films. We also sell chemistry to laboratories who need to process the film so they can have images on them. We have kit chemistry and bulk chemistry. Our kit chemistry is mainly for color negative, color print, and we also have black and white reversal kit chemistry. So a full line of chemical products to support laboratories, because without laboratories and projection theaters, you don't have the infrastructure to use film. So it's important to go end to end, and Kodak has a hand in all of it. I still also sell accessories, such as control tools like control strips that laboratories use to monitor their processing chemistries, laboratory supplies like splicing tapes, film cement, particle transfer rollers, cores, and cans. And I also sell scientific filters. Rat and tube filters have been around for almost 100 years, and they're still used in the photographic and scientific communities, and we still make those and we still sell them. So they support our infrastructure and our business. Besides products, we have technical support that's available. We monthly provide surveys to laboratories who would like to participate in our monthly surveys. We pre-expose sensitometric strips. We send them to the laboratories. They process them, mail them back to us, and we share the data with them, just to make sure that their quality looks the way they think it does, and that we agree that they are in range for providing processing services to our customers. That's been going on for many, many decades, and it's amazing that Kodak still can support that today. We also have chemical analysis. If a laboratory is having trouble, they've had some problems with their sensitometry and they can't figure out the problem, they call us. And we're there to help them. Sometimes they send us developer solutions that we can chemically analyze and very quickly help them with problem solving. We want to be available to customers, laboratories, people who shoot film, people who project film. We want to be available to help with problems because we do have experts still available to help with these things. And we still go to customers and we visit them. I would almost consider this a customer visit because you all project film here. So we do go to laboratories. We visit photo shoots. A few of our Kodak employees were at a photo shoot yesterday here in town. We like to be present with our customers in all parts of their workflow. So what's new this year at Kodak? There's a lot of new news, believe it or not, in 2016. Starting off with that, I'll talk about our Kodak Super 8 camera, which we announced at this year's Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. But boy, did it receive accolades at CES. I think some of the team that was there is here this week, and they were kind of overwhelmed with the amount of traffic that came through that Kodak booth asking about a film camera. We were kind of surprised. So what we think is that there's an analog renaissance going on right now. Vinyl record sales are 10x what they were 5 years ago, and film is part of that analog renaissance. So we can just grab the tail of that wave and ride it. And all of you are part of that too, in case you didn't know it. You're part of the analog renaissance. The other things we've got coming up is we have a film cleaner at Kodak. It's a tabletop unit. Will be used for restoration labs and in processing labs. So it's not as bulky and large as the large film cleaners. It uses HFE 7200 film cleaner. It's environmentally safe. And by the way, we'll be demonstrating that at the AMIA conference in Pittsburgh this year. So hopefully if some of you are attending, you can stop by our booth and have a look at that. The other thing that's exciting for us this year is we have announced recently that Kodak is purchasing 2 motion picture laboratories, one in the UK and one in New York City. Both of them are very close to being open, particularly the one in the UK. Hopefully the one in New York City will be processing film before the end of the year in 35, 16, and possibly Super 8 format. So it's really good news to have film processing labs to be more available worldwide. You heard this morning about our Real Film app that is under development, so that's an exciting new thing for us as well. And another thing we're doing is we're developing a new film, partnering with a company called Pickle. They're based in Norway, and it's using film to store data on film. So the frames don't have images, it has digital data, but it's stored on a piece of film in a 35mm film frame. So it's a little bit of a hybrid between digital and motion picture film, and we're just getting started with that, and it's pretty exciting for us. Again, it's all part of this film as the analog renaissance. All right, so now I want to show you some highlights of what was shot on Kodak film. These movie posters are an example of some 2015 films that were all shot on Kodak color negative film. And the Sizzler trailer that we're going to show in just a couple minutes has some clips from these. And it also has some images of the other divisions at Kodak besides our film division, so you'll get to see that as well. In 2016, we've got some new movies coming out: Born, La La Land, Wonder Woman, next year Star Wars, and Dunkirk, all shot on Kodak color negative film. So there's a lot of projects out there that are still using Kodak film, and we want to keep the ball rolling. All right, so why shoot on film? Why would you shoot on film? You could shoot digital. Why shoot on film? There's a lot of reasons. And you know what? We asked our customers. First of all, there's an analog renaissance, as we talked about earlier. For 10 years straight, vinyl sales have grown. There were 900,000 vinyl records sold in 2005, and just under 12 million in 2005. 12 million from 900,000. So what does that tell you? Color Kodak Super 8, obviously we've had a huge response to that. And by the way, Super 8 film sales, the little cartridge that goes in the Super 8 camera, that volume has not declined in the last 4 years. It's not growing yet, it's stable. We think next year when our new camera comes out, it's gonna grow. So Super 8 is not going down, which is kind of interesting when you think about it. There's people that shoot Super 8 who are really film fans. We asked our customers why they shoot on film. So here's their actual quotes. I'll let you read these, but you know, Chris Nolan, he shot a lot of stuff. And Quentin Tarantino, he shot The Hateful Eight. He shot Django Unchained, Inglourious Bastards, Reservoir Dogs, Kill Bill, Jackie Brown, Pulp Fiction, of course. And J.J. Abrams, regarding Henry, Forever Young, Armageddon, Star Wars, of course. And Martin Scorsese, his most recent was The Wolf of Wall Street. He shot Boardwalk Empire, Shutter Island, The Departed, The Aviator, Gangs of New York, Cape Fear, Goodfellas, and of course, The Taxi Driver. And Lazio Namez, he shot Son of Saul, which was a wonderful movie last year. So I'll let you guys read their quotes. This is exactly what they said about film. So Kodak doesn't have to answer the question, why shoot on film? We just asked our customers, and they tell us why they shoot on film. Here's a few more. Bob Yeoman, he shot the Grand Budapest Hotel, The Heat, Moonrise Kingdom, Bridesmaids, The Royal Tenenbaums. Sean Bobbitt, 12 Years a Slave, The Place Beyond the Pines, Every Day, Hysteria, and Shame. A lot of important titles there. So again, why would you shoot on film? Well, it really is the gold standard. It's the benchmark for the industry. Digital cameras all want to be like film. So why switch to digital? Just stay with film. It's beauty. It's really the only true, unique, organic product. You can put your hands on it. It has an organic look that digital just cannot deliver. It has film grain, changes every frame. It's not a pixel. You have a choice of format with film, a choice of cameras that have been in the industry for decades. They don't change every 3 years like digital chips do. Super 8, all the way to 65. You get a distinct look from each one of those. There's a classic workflow. There's creativity on the set with film. And there's also discipline of crews and actors. If you've ever been on a set and seen film rolling through a camera, you'll see a reverence when the takes are shot, as opposed to digital, when they just press the button and it runs and runs and runs. And everybody gets kind of lax and they don't really pay as close attention. And then when you get to post-production and you have, you know, a shooting ratio of 30-1 instead of 8 or 10-1, it's almost a nightmare. So there's more reverence on the set for film. We really believe that, and I've seen it personally on the sets that I have visited, digital and film. Archiving is built in. It's migration free. You don't have to migrate it every 3 years. If it's got a frame and it's human readable, you'll be able to read it in 100 years if you preserve it correctly. You can differentiate your project from the digital rest if you shoot on film. And truthfully, it's cost effective. People think it's more expensive to shoot film, but there's been many studies done, and one of the reasons it is cost effective is because of the reverence it's given on set. You don't shoot too much of it. You shoot what you need. You're careful when you set up your shots, and you get the best shots really with film. And you don't have to shoot as much of it and take as many takes and take as long during the day, as opposed to turning the digital camera on and just letting it run and run and run and run. There's more reverence for film because it has higher value. Okay, we talked about why we're going to shoot on film, but why are we going to project on film now? I mean, digital projection looks pretty good. Why do you have to project on film? Well, there's a couple reasons for that. First of all, it's the true cinema experience. It's film on film, captured on film, projected on film. Even if it's captured digitally, if you project it on film, it has a different look and feel in the theater than a digital projection. I truly believe that. You can see the classic movies the way they were intended to be seen, because way back then when many of the classics were made, digital wasn't even available. We've got some information that shows that when we project in 70 millimeters, consumers flock to that format because it looks so much different and so much better than either 35 or digital presentations. Conservation centers are calling to have more 35 screens available. This workshop is part of that grassroots effort, so thanks again for being part of it. We also have a real-time recorder available these days called a Cinnovator, and it allows laboratories to go direct to print without having to make intermediate elements. The other thing that's not on here, I forgot to put it on here, is that if you have a 35 millimeter print, you automatically have a preservation element. Some people might argue it's not a black and white SEP, it's not archival, but if you have a color print and you take care of it, it can last a long time. And you have a preservation element that's human readable, which you don't have in a DCP file that's run through a digital projector. Film is the worldwide standard, and there are 70 motion picture labs around the world today. And the 70 that are there are high quality and they're committed to film. If they weren't alive today, they wouldn't be that way, because those who really didn't want to be in the business are already out. The ones who are in, like the theaters that project film, they're all in on film. And as I mentioned before, 2 more labs coming that are Kodak owned, one in the UK and one in New York City. So why would you archive on film? Well, that's easy, because there's been over 90 formats of digital that have been around since about 1958, and most of them have come and gone. If you don't remaster every 3 years, if you have a digital format, you're probably going to lose your content. So I think the AMIA crowd knows this very well, and even if you don't have a black and white element, if you have a film element, you don't necessarily have to reformat it every 3 years, 3 to 5 years. So it's a pretty easy answer. That's the reason why you archive on film, because you've got it once, and if you take care of it, you'll have it a long time. So this is really about the days of digital and about what I just said. I guess 1956 it was. There was 90 formats of different video digital formats, and most of them have come and gone. I was talking about reality to start us off, but we're going to talk about the film factory. This is where I live. I live in Rochester at the film factory, and we have 3 divisions that pretty much make film from start to finish. Actually, there's 4, so I'll mention that. We have a roll coating division where we make the large plastic rolls that we coat the emulsions onto. That's what we call our roll coating division. That process is in white light, so I like to take visitors there because you can actually see what's going on. We do have clean room conditions in there, so you have to suit up to go in there, but you can see it because there's no light sensitive emulsions there, and it's very interesting to watch how those rolls are made, and they're very high tech, believe it or not. We're very careful about how we make our supports because we want our film rolls to be exactly the same every time they go out the door. Of course, the heart of the operation is our sensitizing areas where we mix the formulations, the recipes into melts. Those melts are then coated simultaneously onto a moving web in total darkness. And then our finishing areas where we convert the wide rolls into our favorite formats from 8mm all the way up to 70mm. Slit and perforate package, all in the dark. And then they get on a truck and they go to our distribution centers and off to our customers. So we do all of this right in Rochester, New York. So this is a depiction, let's see if I can get this to work, of it's a very simple depiction of our process here. So I'm gonna start over here. This is where we make the plastic rolls. Polyester and cellulose triacetate are the 2 types of base that are used for motion picture. Our trade name for polyester is S-Star, that's why that's there. CTA, we have Kodak acronyms. Cellulose triacetate is acetate support. And these, of course, are made in white light. These rolls then go to our coating area over here, where they have thin layers of emulsion that are simultaneously coated on this, it's called a hopper. It creates a very controlled technical waterfall. Basically, this is a cascaded waterfall of gelatin layers that are simultaneously coated onto the moving web of support. Before they're dried, they're actually chilled. I'm gonna move up here to talk about this area here. So we have solution preparation. Before we even get to this area, we have a whole division called synthetic chemicals, and they make many of the ingredients that go into our recipes. Our synthetic chemicals division is a chemical company. They make products for our film manufacturing, but probably 95% of their business is external to Kodak. So that's one of the ways we've been innovative to save money. We can still make chemicals for film manufacturing at lower volumes because our chemical factory now makes chemicals for other companies besides Kodak. So they provide these components. They go to a Building 30 components manufacturing where we actually make silver halide emulsions in the dark, and we mix them together with our main binder, which is gelatin. Gelatin's made out of cow bones. So it's a natural product, it's highly purified, much more pure than food grade gelatin. And we've never found a polymer that works better than gelatin to make our emulsions and our coating layers with. It's very, very unique in its physical and chemical properties. So just as an example, our color negative films have 18 layers. Yellow, magenta, cyan, and many multiple interlayers. We have a slow, mid, and fast layer for each emulsion. So 18 layers that are simultaneously coated in these various kettles. It doesn't show 18 here, but they're very carefully metered down to our coating hopper in the dark and coated onto this support simultaneously. We actually have 2 passes, so 9 layers will be coated in the first pass. It doesn't get wound up, it goes through the machine, comes back to a second coating station, 9 more layers, second coating station, and then it finally gets wound up. Because we use gelatin in our process, we have to chill it before we dry it, just like Jell-O. If you dry it too fast, it cracks, and we don't want that. So we actually send our web through a flat section that chills the gelatin, and then there's towers that go, the path that the web takes, all in clean room dark conditions over a mile long. So it's very big, very grandiose, and it's quite impressive, especially when you turn the lights on after the rolls are out of there, because during coating, it's all dark. The building that it's in doesn't have any windows, because we wouldn't want any unwanted light leaks, which would expose our film and ruin it. So after we go through our coating process, The film goes to our finishing area, which is over here. It doesn't really show it very well, but we then convert our rolls, which are 54 inches wide. Most of them are 6,000 feet long, so over a mile in length by 54 inches wide, almost as wide as this table up here. We will slit and perforate in total darkness in a different building of Kodak. So that's going through the process a little bit, one at a time. Again, we talked about roll coating. It's polyester or cellulose triacetate. We use a few other layers there so that the emulsions adhere to the supports. We use latex, anti-stats. In case of color negative, there's a remjet layer, which is the carbon backing on the back side of our camera negs. Lubricants and matte beads. We have very small matte beads that we put in the coatings of our rolls so that they don't stick together when you wind them up. Sensitizing, I described this. This is a depiction of our coating hopper. Very rough depiction of how the layers come out of the slots and are coated onto the moving web. Those layers don't intermix when they hit the web, and it's all because of viscosity and surface tension. And it's highly technical. It's very, very interesting. I hope you get a chance sometime to come to Rochester so I can give you a tour. We use a lot of other things in our layers as well. It's very technical. Things like antifoggants, sequestriants, thickeners, hardeners, acids and bases to control pH. Surfactants control surface tension, so those layers don't mix together because then you wouldn't get the desired result. Here is an aerial shot of our factory. And the white building, the right pointer here, this is where our coating machine is that I just described. And it has many towers, it has 8 floors. Many towers that where the web goes up and down is used to dry the film very gently. Because again, since it's gelatin, you can't dry it too fast. Otherwise you'll get micro cracks. We call that reticulation, and that's a bad thing. So we have to dry the film extremely gently, and even though the machine moves at a pretty fast rate of speed, because the thread up of the machine is over a mile long, it takes a long time for the film to get from where it's coated to where it's wound up. And after it's wound up, we use robotic vehicles to move it out of the room, first of all for cleanliness, second of all for operator safety. Most of the operators in this building work in a control room, and they don't ever go into the coating areas unless the machine is down and they're in there for preventive maintenance or cleaning. Cleanliness is next to godliness at Kodak. If you go in the coating alleys, you have to wear full clean room suits, including beard covers if you happen to have a beard, hat covers, special shoes. If you're a visitor, you have to wear shoe covers, and full clean room suits. It almost looks like you're going into surgery, but instead, we're making film.
This is all negative, not positive.
It's for everything.
Oh.
Every coating, every product that we make there, which is all of them, are done under those conditions. Okay. This isn't a Kodak slitter, but I thought it was kind of a cool picture because it shows how the big web is slit. And you see here where there's a wide web. I don't think this is 54, but there's knives on this bar right here, and half of the slits are going up this way and the other half are coming out this way. These look a little wider than our motion picture formats. We do this in total darkness too. So we have a slitter that splits the, we call them 1, 3, 5, 7, our odd slits, and our even slits into large rolls, usually 6,000 foot length rolls without perforations. And then at perforating, we wind the film down to the customer lengths and also put them on customer cores at perforating. So it's quite an operation, and it's very interesting to see and watch. After the films are perforated, an operator working in total darkness will put the films inside a black bag. Again, they wear gloves, like you did here. They put it inside a can. The cans go on a cart. The cart full of cans goes out to a can line where, of course, the product is verified. The labels are put on the cans. The tape is put around the edges of the cans, and then an operator physically packages the cans from the line into a carton, and then it goes off to our logistics area for distribution. So not a lot of operators actually touch the film, but the ones who do have a lot of checks and balances in place, and they're very experienced and very proud of the products that they manufacture in Rochester. Very good team of people we have working there. So these are some of the components that we use in our film finishing area. So what's the result? It's the science and the art of film use, from capturing to chemical processing to exhibition. And I know you are all part of the exhibition piece of it, and you can't have one without all three for film to work. So it's important that all three of them are part of the process, and all three of them get attention by Kodak and by folks like yourself. This really says it all. And again, this is from our CEO, Jeff. So I think you can tell, we at Kodak, we're committed to this, and we need everybody like yourselves to be committed to it too, to work. So thanks for being part of the film club, and we're gonna be here for a while, and I'm ready to take questions if you have any.